Hi, you want to find out what's better for you, renting or buying an apartment? In this video, we'll dive deeper into financial and into psychological hidden assumptions everyone makes while deciding whether to buy or rent an apartment. If you haven't seen my quick approach previous video, please do that. Here, I want to repeat things I've said before. I will concentrate on new areas only. It's decision on numbers. Let's calculate. First things first. In quick approach video, I promised to discuss the situation where period how long we want to stay and period of mortgage loan are different. You may want to extend the term of mortgage to decrease mortgage payments, and typically most people do so. The model assumes that when you move out, you will sell your apartment. The decision to pay mortgage quicker and stay for longer is also possible, but people don't typically do that because it makes mortgage payment higher. Some people want to do that to be the real owners sooner. It's harder at the beginning, but there are people who accept that. Remember that there is a constraint here, the sum for rent and long-term savings. I can only shorten mortgage to a point. If I try more, then calculator warns you that this scenario is impossible. Here I would like also comment on type of mortgage payments, because it also can make life harder at the beginning, but decreases cost of mortgage overall. Mortgage payments can be equal, the most popular model, or decreasing. The payments are higher at the beginning but quickly drop. You will also pay less interest that way. I can change it right now, but such payments are impossible for me. My income is not enough to do it. Now we move to advanced assumptions. First thing is assessing whether in your area the population is growing. Why population? Well, it's the most important factor on the demand side. If population is declining, it's highly probable that your apartment will lose value. Population is easy to measure. Every country has statistics where you can find such things, and therefore you can analyze your area yourself. I'm planning to do a special video about it in the future, so please subscribe and hit notification button to be informed when it's ready. Okay, let's say I did my research and found out that population in this area is growing. Then we have rates, a lot of rates. We are talking about future here. Everything can happen. Every bank, every financial institution has their predictions. You can look at them, but everybody has their business, and they will tell you things to convince you to behave in their best interest, not yours.
Your profit would be upwards of $60,000. You could pay off your mortgage.
You can argue that we can always analyze past data. It's data. It's objective. No, my dear viewers, manipulating data to show what you want to show, it's not difficult for skilled people. For example, let's talk about return on long-term investment here. What rate do you want? 7% to show that rent is better? Okay, we will take S&P 500 data from 1926 average return after adjusted for inflation. It's average. It's good. Or maybe 5% to hit rent decision. No problem. We will say, which is true, that data from 1926 is ancient and the nature of the economy in the US and in the world changed. So data should be from 1957. Or maybe we need 3%. So we will say that S&P 500 is growing in last 10 years like crazy and crisis is coming.
Where's the money?
What money?
So for the next 20 years, average return will be significantly lower. Let's say 3%. See? It's difficult to reject any of these approaches, because every one of them has sense. So, in my calculator, I assumed some rules between those rates.
The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
Inflation is the basis of all. Banks want inflation plus margin around 2 percentage points. Apartment price growth, when population is growing, is inflation plus 1 percentage point. When it's stable, only half percentage point. And when the population is decreasing, apartment price growth equals inflation. It's logical, right? Rent growth is half of percentage point above price growth because owner has to earn for himself transaction costs, carrying costs and taxes. And what about investment return? Well, I think it's connected to your risk appetite. If your risk appetite is high, I would say it is 6% plus inflation, medium is 4% plus inflation, and low it's 2% plus inflation. I think those assumptions are good for most regions in developed countries. Of course, we have disruptions here when billionaires and speculators make investments in real estates. But generally, such investments make prices so high that apartments and houses in such places are beyond the reach of normal, average, hard-working people.
Jay, it's so grand.
You like it?
I love it.
Okay, so now we are going to my favorite assumptions. First is retention of your initial savings. I think that this money may not be reinvested in full. All return is spent. I think this is the case for most people. Then we have to set our risk appetite. Assessing that is not so difficult. If you completely don't know that, I propose you a test. Take half of your monthly income, go to the casino, be there for minimum 2 hours and find out when you stop playing. If you will walk out with no money or less than 20%, then you know your risk appetite is high. If you end up with some profit or 80% of your original sum, your risk appetite is rather low. In other case, it's medium. It's rough estimation, but better than nothing. Additionally, I think that there is significant correlation between risk appetite and ability to maintain regular long-term savings. People with high risk appetite tend to be bad savers, and people with low risk appetite are going to be good savers. Now, what am I going to do here? I will set my risk appetite to medium level and leave my regular savings ability. It has sense. Then we have one parameter left. If we identify that price for our apartment is too high in comparison with rent of similar apartment, then some people would rent and wait 2-3 years for a good bargain. We can model that in our calculator. In those years we have to keep our savings accessible, so return on them will be significantly lower. I think that on a regular market, normal average person will be better when buying an apartment. As I said before, some assumptions, especially connected to savings while renting, are not realistic in my opinion. Additionally, majority of people prefer owning, especially when they are in their 30s and older. To end this and sum it up, I think when deciding on buying or renting an apartment, you have to concentrate mainly on 3 things. First, you have to know how area where are you going to buy or rent an apartment changes. Is population growing? Is GDP per capita growing? What about infrastructure, the overall quality of life, and so on. The second thing is apartment price. Is it a bargain compared to renting? And the third thing, the most important one, is you. You have to assess yourself, mainly in terms of spending and saving money. It's the most important factor. And you know what? I think that our parents and grandparents, taken into account our weak will, may have right, saying that buying an apartment is generally a good thing to do. I will make special videos on those 3 things I mentioned when summing up, so if you're interested, subscribe and hit the bell to be informed when it's ready. Thank you very much for watching, see you next time.